Okay, so as we are ending the semester here, getting close to the end of the semester, we are going to talk about the importance of mental and physical health in college. So, at this point, it's probably no surprise to you that college is very stressful. Um, there's a lot of time that you have to take up to go to classes, do your homework. You guys saw that when you did your time management module. There are probably a lot more tests than you've ever taken before, and perhaps it's difficult to keep up with the workload. And not only that, maybe some of you are working or have a family and you're trying to balance all of that. And so, with that being said, it is very important that you take care of yourself mentally and physically in order to be successful in college. So, here are some signs of stress that you may recognize in yourself. The first one is sleep issues. Maybe you have excessive sleep or interrupted sleep where you're waking up in the middle of the night. Maybe you find yourself to be more irritable. You're, easily angered, maybe by your friends or people in your family, people who you live with. You feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster. You're crying a lot, maybe about things that you don't normally cry about. Okay. And maybe you have some physical discomfort as well. Stress can cause headaches, back pain, stomach pain, all of these things you should be looking out for because it could be a sign that you are under a lot of stress and you need to do something about that to alleviate these symptoms. So, how can you manage your stress? If you are experiencing any of those symptoms, what can you do? Well, first, managing your time. That's number one. Right? Because when you manage your time well, then you can balance all of your priorities well. You don't want to become burned out because you're only doing work or only doing school. You want to be able to fit in things that are enjoyable for you. You want to have a social life, things like that. Exercise is also extremely important. And I'm not saying that you've got to go to CrossFit, but if you go to CrossFit, great, good for you. I did it for 3 months. I'll probably never do it again. But just going on a walk, okay, that is exercise. And we've looked at how that movement can impact your brain activity. So make sure that you're exercising regularly. Connect socially, right? And that can be very difficult as a online college student. So I highly encourage you to, get connected to some resources at LBCC or even reach out to some of your classmates who you feel like you've had good conversations with in discussion boards, etc. And just try to connect with people, right? Maybe form a study group, something like that. Make sure that you are also eating healthy. And I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a dietitian, anything like that. But you guys know what it is to eat healthy, right? Fruits, vegetables, protein, right? You want to have all of those balanced food groups in your diet, right? Try not to live off of a diet of candy and I don't know, Takis. A lot of my high school students always had Takis in class, and that was their breakfast. Maybe that was you when you were in high school, right? That's not the best brain fuel. You want to eat healthy because it's good for you, it's good for your brain, and make sure that you are getting adequate sleep. This was my number one problem when I was a college student. I think I've mentioned before that, I didn't have great time management. And I was an athlete. And so I was under a lot of stress because, I had 4 hours worth of practice every day, plus my classes to go to, plus, all of my homework to complete, and to maintain a social life, right, with my roommates, my friends, things like that, connect with my family, since I lived on campus. There was a lot of stress, and so I just didn't manage my time well. And what I would end up doing, usually around finals week, kind of the time that you guys are probably in right now, is I would start to pull all-nighters. And it really wasn't good for my health, and it really, um, just caused more stress. And I did have a lot of academic anxiety as well, and wanted to, perform well on my tests, on my essays, things like that. But really, it boiled down to not managing my time well. And because of that, I lost a lot of sleep. And I actually ended up, um, crashing my car into a wall because I fell asleep, essentially. At least that's what I can remember. I fell asleep at the wheel, um, and hit this wall. Um, and so there are a lot more repercussions than just losing sleep, right? It's just really not good for you. And I do not recommend pulling all-nighters. Don't do that. Don't follow my example. Okay. So another thing that you guys can do, and I want to give you this resource, it's been on our Canvas page, but if you are under a lot of stress and you want to talk to someone, please reach out to the LBCC Mental Health Services. Maybe right now you want to pause this lecture, you want to take a picture of the phone numbers. Maybe if you live close to campus, you want to pop in and see if you can meet with someone. Okay, so let's talk about physical health. What do you need to know to maintain good physical health, and why is this important in college? Okay, so why physical health is important. Number one, it improves your concentration, can also improve your memory, your attendance, it'll increase your energy levels, it'll decrease your stress, and you just overall feel better when you are physically healthy. Okay. Um, all of these things are going to help you to be a successful college student. It's kind of the package deal. And it really does start with having good physical health. So, when we are really stressed out, this is what a lot of us will do. We eat some junk food, right? We find the cookies that have been in the back of the cupboard, or we go to the grocery store and get a pint of Ben and Jerry's. We just eat junk food, right? Or maybe it's Takis. Okay, maybe that's your thing. Maybe you, what that does it eventually makes you feel tired and sleepy when you're eating junk. It's not good fuel for your body or for your brain. And so then that leads you to over caffeinating yourself. And I have done this myself as a college student. I told you I pulled all-nighters. I would just drink a bunch of coffee in the middle of the night. And for whatever reason, I thought that would help me. Really just makes you jittery, right? And then maybe when you're stressed, you just end up binge watching a TV show in the middle of the night because you've had too much coffee all day and you can't go to sleep, right? And so then your brain is wired because you're looking at a screen. Okay. And so all of these things kind of just have a domino effect. And you may not realize it in the moment, but it's truly rooted in stress. And so we need to approach this by taking care of our physical health. So let's talk about brain fuel, okay? The first thing that we really need is water. So for every 25 pounds of your body weight, you need to have 8 ounces of water. Okay, so do that math. Figure out, how many, 40-ounce jugs that needs to be a day, right? Something like that. We also need oxygen in our brains. We've talked about this before when we talked about what the brain needs. So move, because blood circulation will carry the oxygen to the brain. Go on a walk, exercise, right? Maybe for you, that truly does mean going to the gym or going to CrossFit. Maybe it means taking your dog on a walk or taking your kids on a walk. I often will take my dog and my son on a walk sometime during the day, and it's really good for all of us to get out of the house. Okay. Your brain also needs glucose. And so when you have a balanced diet and you have balanced glucose, you have a higher accuracy of working memory and motor function. Okay, you are going to be able to remember things better, and you're going to be able to have better motor function, right? So simple things like using a pen or pencil in class to take notes, right? That's motor function right there. Okay. Um, so how much brain fuel do we really need? Well, the more challenging the task, the more brain fuel is needed, right? Does scrolling on TikTok require a lot of brain fuel? Not really. Does taking an essay exam require a lot of brain fuel? Yes. That's a challenging task. So think about the tasks that you need to complete as a college student and how you are going to fuel your brain to be able to complete those. Okay. I really want to talk about hydration because it's so important for proper brain function. Um, when you are hydrated, you are moving neuron signals through the brain. Okay. We want that brain activity because when that is happening, we are strengthening those dendrites, and that means that our memory is improving. Okay. Hydration also moistens lungs to transfer oxygen to the bloodstream. Oxygen is super important for us, right? It keeps our brain cells efficient, okay? So they're not lagging, right? They're kind of keeping up. It avoids cognitive loss, meaning, sometimes we're like, wait, what was I doing in this room? Or wait, what was I just doing? What was I going to write down? Okay, it avoids that when you're properly hydrated. And hydration will help to boost your memory as well. Okay. So caffeine, I've talked about this a little bit already. Is it a friend or a foe? Depends on how much you have, okay? Too much caffeine can cause sleep disturbance, poor concentration, just overall decreased effectiveness with your brain and your body, and it will increase the level of cortisol in the blood. So, I would be interested if you guys would do a little research on how much caffeine is too much and compare that to how much caffeine you are consuming on a daily basis. And then let me know what you find. Okay, so let's talk about cortisol. Okay, that was mentioned on the last slide. Cortisol is a stress hormone, um, and it can cause high blood pressure, which can lead to heart disease. Too much cortisol can lower your immunity, meaning that you're more likely to get sick. It can cause a blood sugar imbalance, which can be a roller coaster and not good for your body. Or brain. Okay. I have a brother-in-law who is diabetic and deals with blood sugar imbalance. And it really takes a lot to be able to manage that. And it's that, causes more stress in itself. So you don't want to create that blood sugar imbalance. You also, too much cortisol will give you impaired cognitive performance. So you won't perform as well on tests, homework, etc. And then it also causes cravings. And so that's why, when we're stressed out, we tend to eat junk food, right? Salt, sugar, fat. That's what our brain is telling us that we want. But when really it's this cortisol that is creating that craving. Okay. Another thing is don't skip meals. Okay. Um, Breakfast, lunch, dinner, super important. Okay. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nutritionist. Please follow the advice of your doctor. But what research has told us is that skipping meals causes you to feel dizzy because you'll have a blood sugar imbalance. You get more tired because you don't have any fuel in your body. And you tend to overeat later. And when you are, especially if you're stressed, that cortisol will cause these cravings that will make you make poor choices in choosing food to overeat. You're probably not grabbing a bag of celery. You're probably, finding something processed in the back of your cupboard, something like that. And those aren't brain foods, right? That's not the kind of fuel that our brain needs. Okay. So really try to stay away from refined sugar, white flour, turkey, soda, and juices. And you may be asking about turkey. It's because that tends to make you tired. Okay. And so that's why we threw that one in there. Okay. So, what should you eat? Here are some excellent brain foods for you. Look for nuts, like walnuts can improve cognitive performance. Apples, those can give you brain power. Blueberries will improve your memory. Will provide you magnesium and iron, which will help with your blood flow. Pumpkin seeds are good for thinking. Broccoli is good for cognitive function. Oats are a good source of glucose. Dark chocolate is actually a really good antioxidant and can increase your blood flow. So if you're looking for something sweet, that's a great alternative. And then eggs, not only is that protein, but it helps to boost your memory power. Okay, so you may want to take a screenshot of this so that you can use this information moving forward. I will say, like I have said before, I am not a medical professional. This is just kind of what research tells us that is good for our brains. But please follow the advice of your doctors. Okay, so I hope that you guys can take this into your next week to make some really good choices to improve your mental and physical health.